The magic realm is a magical world where magic is freely used by all people as a natural part of daily life. One's social standing in the world was defined by one's ability to master magic, which was thought to be a gift from God. However, there is a guy who opposes the natural order in a remote part of this globe, deep in the forests. Mashle likes a cream puff after working out and getting his heart rate up. Regro shares a wooden hut with his son, isolated from any other people. Regro is no longer concerned by many things as he has grown older and mastered stress management. Mashle enters the home after that and rips the door from its hinges. Regro yells at him and becomes enraged, but Mashle says he can't recall if he had to push or pull. Mashle says he's sorry and that he'll fix it. Regro settles down, but when he sees Mashle trying to push the door while it's in the incorrect position, he becomes enraged once more and tells him that it's in the incorrect position. Mashle, however, persists in banging on the door and eventually breaks it altogether. Regro queries Mashle on the status of today's exercise regimen after he has calmed down. Mashle agrees but questions why all of his workouts are physical. Regro says he will tell him later. He wants to explain that it's because he is unique and cannot use magic. Regro then departs. Regro shouts at Mashle to first learn how to open and close doors before telling him he learned how to mend the door. Regro reminds Mashle not to enter the city before they go. Mashle, however, departs towards the city as soon as Regro goes, observing that he can't ignore his stomach. He observes that everyone in the city uses magic for things that they can accomplish with their hands. He orders 7 cream puffs from a shop, but because he was so thrilled, he bent the money. He bends them back to normal after apologizing. Although astonished, the vendor nonetheless sells him the cream puffs. People note that something is missing from Mashle's face as he prepares to leave when a wind blows away his hood and reveals his face. Brad learns in the newspaper that Rain Ames, a second-year student at Easton Magic Academy, has been named this year's Divine Visionary. A Divine Visionary title is given to the student who has excelled to the greatest extent throughout the academic year. Rain receives the title, a gift of 1 billion Lond, and a temporary job at the Bureau of Magic in addition to being promoted to nobility. Brad is jealous because he leads a mundane existence in a drab setting. Then, a shackled and battered man begs Brad for mercy because he just stole a minor item. Brad, however, is angry with the man because his crime put him in a difficult situation and required him to work. The phone rings as he is about to make the criminal regret committing the crime. Brad is then made aware of a city child who is unmarked. Mashle draws a lot of attention from onlookers as he strolls through the town since his face is unmarked. Mashle eventually runs across Terry, a drunk police officer, and gets cream all over his uniform. Mashle offers Terry a cream puff after he yells at him. But Terry becomes increasingly angrier and knocks the cream puff to the ground as it is only partially eaten. Mashle is being yelled at while being asked what he will do about his uniform. The uniform is then ripped from him by Mashle, who promises to take it and wash it. After hearing Terry making a racket and seeing Mashle, Brad arrives and assumes Mashle to be the child from the news broadcast. Before he can ask Mashle anything, Regro rushes over and grabs him while professing regret for his son's actions. Brad makes a magical bird to follow Regro since he sees this as an opportunity for promotion. Regro yells at Mashle for traveling to the city when she returns to their home. But when she witnesses Mashle apologizing, Regro believes that Mashle genuinely regrets his behavior. He orders him to repeat his morning workout regimen as a kind of punishment. Regro accepts and receives several cream puffs from Mashle. Regro rushes in to open the door for Mashle as he leaves to complete his punishment so that he won't damage it. Now that the magical police are aware of Mashle, Regro is worried. Brad's bird is then spotted outdoors by him. Brad, Terry, and a different policeman later level the wall. Mashle swiftly completes his workout and makes the decision to return home to have some cream puffs while singing a song about them. He pauses at the door and considers pushing it open or pulling it open when he overhears Brad from within, who is aware that Regro has Mashle hidden. Brad explains to Regro that the reason they thrive is because they eliminate the inferior blood that is incapable of using magic since those people do not have the right to survive. He asks Regro where Mashle is, but Regro pretends to be clueless. Regro is told that it is against the law to shelter an unidentified individual, but he remains silent despite Brad hitting him. Regro remembers how his bosses and family had viewed him as a failure and useless because of his meager abilities. He contemplated suicide because he felt so entirely unwelcome. He heard a baby cry seconds before he leaped to his death, though. He realized the infant was abandoned when he saw it had no marks and thought of himself as the baby. Regro felt for the first time in his life that someone needed him as the infant smiled at him, and he vowed to be that person's father. Mashle is yelled at by Regro to flee. Brad instructs his guys to hunt for Mashle after realizing that he should still be around. Regro continues to yell despite Brad's beatings and attempts to get him to stop, so he decides to use magic. Mash breaks through the door at that precise time, hitting one of the officers and sends him flying through the wall and outside. Mash confronts Terry, but once more pulls off his uniform, starts slapping him, and knocks him out. When Regro questions why Mash didn't flee, Mash responds that they are family and Regro is all he has. He says he's sorry for being selfish, but since he's already here, he'll send the police to hell. Mash will be able to vanquish him without the need of magic. Brad laughs. Terry also thinks Brad, a former member of the Bureau of Magic's security force, is unbeatable, and that Mash has no chance against him. Brad then promises to end the fight in 3 seconds and begins working on his spell. Terry may identify the spell as the one that chased the dragon away. Then Brad fires a damaging magical ball called anicaps towards Mash, causing an explosion. Brad is shocked to discover that Mash simply slapped his spell down, as if it were nothing when the smoke clears. Brad then concocts the much more potent anicaps Diagoras spell, but Mash simply dismisses it. Mash does a volleyball move to block Brad from shooting it repeatedly while he continues to juggle the magical balls. Mash continues fiddling with Brad's wizardry for a while. Mash chooses Regro's wand and offers to borrow it for a while. Brad is shocked to learn that Mash cannot use magic, but she is able to cast a protective magical circle to counter any magical attacks. Brad was shocked since he had never seen someone wield a wand in that manner until Mash threw it like a spear, easily cutting through his magical defenses and scratching his face. Mash then threatens to murder him if he continues to endanger his family. Then, Brad wants to make Mash an offer. If Mash complies with his instructions, he will release both Mash and Regro. One extraordinary student is honored as one of God's chosen and referred to as a divine visionary once a year, according to Brad. Mash is instructed by Brad to apply to magic schools in order to become a divine visionary. If he achieves that, society will accept him and God will have accepted him. Brad clarifies that he merely desires the wealth and notoriety that come with the title. Brad warns Mash that if he declines, the entire nation will come after him. Mash is tough, so he might get away with it, but Regro won't. Mash agrees after informing Regro that he wants them to resume their peaceful coexistence. A number of key figures in the world of magic have graduated from the esteemed Easton Magic Academy. Less than 3% of candidates are accepted because of its extremely challenging entrance exam. Only those with exceptional magical abilities are accepted. As he watches this year's contenders, Claude Lucci notices that some of them are descended from nobles or other prominent figures. He then sees Mash exercising and finds it unbelievable that someone would be doing so right before the magic exam. When he next observes Mash doing the invisible chair and reading a fitness manual rather than a book about magic, he is even more startled. Regro and Brad may also be seen awkwardly concealing themselves. Mash, though, will undoubtedly flunk the exam, so he chooses not to bother with him. The entrance exam will be overseen by Claude, who then makes himself known in front of everyone. Claude is pleased as the students identify him as a skilled magician and compliment him. Mash says he could have just taken them to a room that was already prepared, which irritates Claude. Claude then calls for desks and sets exam paper and feather pens on them. He gives them 30 minutes to complete the test papers, but the candidates are taken aback when they see that the questions are wriggling. They must dispel the magic and correctly arrange the questions in order to pass the exam because Claude had magically enchanted the test papers. Mash has no chance of passing, according to Regro and Brad. Mash then begins tormenting the exam paper and orders the moving questions to halt. He commands them once more to stop moving as they continue by crushing the feather pen. The questions stop moving and line up correctly because of their anxiety. Mash then distributes his test, surprise Claude with how neatly everything is lined up. Mash continues to pass the tests, running on water or making a boulder float by inserting his finger in it and raising it. Mash begins the next test, and Claude can't believe he hasn't failed yet. He constructs a maze and instructs everyone to navigate it. He explains that they have 30 minutes to escape the trap-filled maze. A girl named Lemon Irvine approaches Mash and begs if she can come along while they are in the maze. Mash questions why, and Lemon responds that it will be more effective if they collaborate. Mash concurs, and the two of them begin their search for the objective. Lemon soon faces an imp attack and cries out for assistance. Lemon continues to fall victim to various traps and eventually needs Mash's assistance. Mash thinks that this isn't very effective and urges Lemon to go more quickly, but Lemon uses the Levio's cuffs to cuff Mash's arms and legs. She says she's sorry for tricking him, but she has a motive to keep him from the target. Mash releases himself from the handcuffs, claims he has a good reason to leave as well, and walks away. Then, from behind Lemon, a huge sphinx comes and challenges her with a riddle concerning the monster with 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 at night. Lemon chooses to use magic to combat the sphinx, but he knocks her wand away and commands her to respond to his riddle. Lemon struggles to come up with a response, but she is out of time, and the sphinx is getting ready to chastise her. When she realizes that this is actually her punishment for misleading others, she stops crying for aid. Mashle arrives, punches the sphinx, and declares that the creature from the riddle is impossible to exist as it prepares to hit her. Mashle responds that if Lemon's motivation were the same as his, he would feel bad for her and return to save her. Lemon says they won't be able to accomplish the goal since they are out of time. Claude had hired Lemon to stop Mashle, and he now feels relieved that he won't succeed. He then hears sounds, though, as though the maze walls are shattering. He finds it hard to believe because the walls are 1 meter thick and magic-proof. Mashle emerges from the walls moments later after punching a straight line to the goal through every wall. The other students begin to applaud for Mashle to leave class because they believe he is cheating. When they continue, Lemon cries that it is not Mashle's fault and begs them to stop. She is told by Claude to keep quiet and that he will still follow his word. Lemon admits that she obstructed Mashle's progress on purpose in order for him to miss the mark. If she blocks Mashle, Claude had vowed to let her go. She wished fervently to be accepted for the sake of her struggling family. Mashle returned to help her even though she was blocking his path and proposed to her. Mashle disputes it and claims that he volunteered to piggyback her because of her injury. Lemon had said that Mashle was an emotional burden, but Mashle assumed she meant a physical one, so he said he didn't mind. Claude claims that as an examiner, it is okay for him to intentionally fail students, but he acknowledges that he was mistaken to believe that a scumbag like Lemon might be helpful. Claude claims he is failing them both and invites them to dispute him if they disagree with it. Then Mashle intervenes, telling Claude that he went too far and breaks his wand. Then Headmaster Wahlberg appears and orders everyone to stay quiet while the last interviewing begins and he takes control of the test. Additionally, he invites Claude to visit his office later. Wahlberg then announces that the first student's final interview is about to begin and teleports Mashle and himself to a large hall where other magic teachers are present. He inquires of Mashle why he selected their academy. Mashle claims that he wants to live peacefully with his family. Although some of the teachers don't like that response, Wahlberg does. Then, even though he was running out of time, Wahlberg inquires as to if it is true that he saved a girl in the maze. Mashle verifies that Wahlberg questions why he was taking the chance of failing the exam. Mashle said he did it because he thought he would regret not doing it. Mashle, according to Wahlberg, is the kind of person who acts without thinking and didn't take into account that the Sphinx might be stronger or that he might not be able to shatter the walls. Mashle claims that even if he had given it some thought, he would still have carried it out. Wahlberg thinks he says this because many creatures are stronger than Mashle and he still doesn't understand the ways of the world. Then Wahlberg questions whether Mashle would have reacted similarly if he had been in front of him. Then Wahlberg begins to work his magic, inciting several of the professors to be afraid of his great magical strength. Mashle asks what that is, and Wahlberg responds that it's an old sorcery that transforms the target's most beloved person's soul into a doll. Rigro passes out at that very time, his soul being transferred. Wahlberg continues, saying that if his knife pierces the doll after that, the soul will never be able to escape. Mashle attempts to strike the knife, but it refuses to move, causing him to hurt his arm. While Wahlberg muses on Mashle's next move, Mashle grabs the blade in an effort to stop it from falling farther. He emphasizes that this will be an ongoing competition and that Wahlberg can't maintain that enchantment forever. Power can be utilized for good or ill, according to Wahlberg, depending on the person using it. Noblesse Oblige places a significant focus on safeguarding the vulnerable and reigning in the powerful, and he thinks Mashle is capable of doing the same. He apologizes for trying him and casts out his magic. Mashle accepts it without complaint and then chooses to respond to his earlier query. Mashle would punch Wahlberg unconscious if they ever faced off. Wahlberg accepts Mashle into the school despite the fact that the professors view that as snobbery. The commencement of classes. In Mashle's lesson, the instructor is demonstrating Opti-R's wizardry to open locks. Mashle, on the other hand, utilizes his strength to unlock the lock. As he is meant to study magic and use it, the teacher is enraged by this. Mashle is sitting next to Finn, who considers him to be bad news and doesn't even want to sit next to him any longer. Later, Finn wonders who his roommate will be as he makes his way to his room. He enters his room and discovers the door is vanished. Mashle then appears, holding the door, behind Finn. After the introductions, Finn begins to suspect that Mashle could possibly be normal. Finn is shocked to learn that Mash named each of his muscles as he goes on to introduce them, assuring Mash that he is welcome to ask him any questions. Finn thinks to himself that he wants to be kind and have a calm school life. Mash then inquires about the process for becoming a divine visionary. Finn clarifies that he must gather gold coins. They will be evaluated through tests, and depending on the results, they will receive gold, silver, or bronze coins. In addition, he must maintain good grades to avoid expulsion. Mash then believes that this will be really harsh. Finn accepts his offer of a cream puff from him. Mash requests a broom from Finn because he brought a burdock to class tomorrow, thinking it was a broom. Finn is willing to lend Mash a broom despite his disbelief that he mistook burdock for one. The teacher informs the students that they will be learning how to ride on a broom today, and that they must direct magic energy into the broom and command it with the word fly during class the following day. They must then balance it and control the magic to keep it afloat. Mash's broom isn't moving, despite the pupils successfully commanding their brooms to fly one by one. Mash gets ridiculed by a pupil who also complains that he is holding them back. The broom then jumps to Mash's hand after he stomps the ground, and he orders it to take off. Though shocked, the student claims he cheated because the broom rose without his order. The student then chooses to challenge Mash to a race, with the terms that whomever loses will have to obey the winner while they are there. The teacher then explains that they will be testing out how quickly they can fly. Mash and the pupil are getting ready for a race. The student has been riding a broom since middle school, so he is confident in his abilities. Mash was the person who broke the lock yesterday, and the teacher knows it, and she wonders if he can even ride a broom. Mash finishes the race as soon as she gives the signal to begin, leaving his rival stunned because he didn't even have time to move. Given that this is a new world record, the teacher freaks out. Although they couldn't fully see what happened, the other kids were equally as surprised. However, Finn could easily see it. Mash threw his broom and leaped after it as soon as the teacher signaled to start. He then used air resistance to slow down and land on the broom. As a result of the student's inability to accept Mash's victory, and Mash's seeming sympathy for him, he decides to cancel the wager. The student is enraged, but Lloyd Cavil silences him with magic and expresses regret for his friend's impoliteness. The pupils notice that Lloyd is speaking to Mash and understand that Mash will be Lloyd's first target. Mash is introduced to Lloyd, who then asks if he wants to be friends. Mash hears him called Spud Cabbage, which irritates Lloyd, but he is able to cover it up. After the teacher reminds them that class is still in session, Lloyd excuses himself from Mash and invites him to return after school. Lloyd drags his friend behind the school and beats him, complaining that he can't obey because he instructed him only to play about with him for a little while. Mash, who is with Finn, is curious about Lloyd. Lloyd is a pupil who is a continuing middle school student, according to Finn. Mash questions why people are so terrified of him. Finn informs him that Lloyd is the offspring of a senior official at the Bureau of Magic, and that anyone who opposes him will be banished. Mash creates some cream puffs after school, remarking that it may be entertaining to make them oneself. He feels as though he forgot something while eating them. Mash's absence irks Lloyd, who is also upset. The following day, Mash discovers his textbook in poor condition during a break in between courses. Mash immediately apologizes and explains that he was cooking cream puffs when Lloyd asked him why he hadn't shown up yesterday. Lloyd reveals that he is excellent friends with the vice principal and can speak well of him. He has heard that Mash is striving for the divine visionary. Mash becomes excited because he knows he will succeed in his aim and begins to follow Lloyd's instructions by carrying his belongings, cleaning his shoes, massaging him, and other things. Mash discovers another of his textbooks in poor condition the following class. He requests to see his from Finn. Mash sits next to him despite Finn's repeated requests for him to find someone else. He then offers him some cream puffs and expresses his gratitude to him for lending him the broom, adding that it is wonderful to have a friend like him. Later, Lloyd instructs Mash to wipe up the floor after he spills some water on it, informing his pals that he doesn't like the teacher and might ask the vice principal to fire her. Lloyd departs as Mash makes the decision to carry it out. Later, Lloyd complains that he is tired of reading textbooks and tells Finn that Mash's clothes should be the next thing to be burned. Finn advises him that he must stop doing this. When Lloyd becomes irate, he says that Finn needs to apologize and ask for forgiveness because he erred. Afterward, he casts his powers on Finn. Mash searches for Finn to return the textbook after unintentionally taking it. Then, when Lloyd used his magic to make him bow and smash his head on the floor, he discovers Finn bleeding. Mash queries his whereabouts, to which Lloyd replies that he is receiving an apology. Mash then asks about Finn, who replies that he is alright. Then, as he sobs, Finn admits that he ruined his textbooks. Because he had been told to do so, he refrained out of fear. Mash frequently referred to him as a terrific guy and a good buddy, therefore he feels the need to apologize to him. He should also apologize to him, according to Lloyd. In addition, he asks Mash if she would like to join him for dinner with the vice principal as he is on his way there. Mash then approaches Lloyd, grabs his head, and throws him to the ground while declaring that Lloyd is the one who needs to apologize. Mash questions whether it will make a difference that Finn has said he will expel him. He becomes aware that it might actually be a major matter and that he might have done something wrong as he observes the unconscious Lloyd. Then Vice Principal Farman Kregos appears and says Mash did something wrong. Farman says that he was trusted by Lloyd's father to raise his son, and that he saw everything that happened. Farman will convene a conference at the school to discuss Mash and Finn's participation in this incident. They are referred to as fools by Farman, who also says that because of their differing social standing, they receive different treatment. Mash then rushes in and knees Farman in the face. He explains that he couldn't help it because Farman didn't appear amenable to explanation. And since he previously assaulted one, attacking another wouldn't make much of a difference. Farman threatens to deport him for the assault and tries to use Lepio's Oga, but Mash covers his face with dirt. Mash digs a hole, takes up Farman, places him inside, and begins burying him as Farman wonders where the dirt came from. Farman asserts that he will not get away with this, but Mash cuts him off by saying that while he may be able to deport him at any point, he may also be able to bury him. Farman yells at Mash to stop as he continues to bury the man. Mash is later called to the front of Wahlberg-Bagan, who demands that Mash know why he is there. Mash surmises that he used the kitchen to manufacture cream puffs without asking for permission. Wahlberg explains that he hit Lloyd and buried Farman as a result. The Bureau of Magic has sent Wahlberg a notification ordering him to immediately expel Mash since they consider this to be a concern. The Divine Visionaries are the center of the Bureau of Magic's organization, according to Wahlberg, who also notes that it is the nation's highest legal authority. Additionally, Wahlberg is certain that Mash is aware that Lloyd is the son of a senior Bureau official, and that he committed an offense that cannot be excused. Wahlberg, however, believes that a society in which those who care about others are at a disadvantage is even more intolerable, and burns Mash expel notice. Wahlberg adopted this stance many years ago because he is worried about the way things are right now in the globe. Few people, like Mash, are willing to act and sacrifice themselves. He hopes that one day someone who is similar to Mash will become a divine visionary because it is their job to carefully evaluate what the populace wants. Mash claims that he already aspires to the status of divine visionary. Wahlberg says that in order to be selected as a divine visionary, he must be the best student at this academy, which necessitates accumulating enough money through labor and extracurricular activities. Mash had fainted due to knowledge overload, which Wahlberg observes as he continues to talk about the coins. Following Mash's awakening, Wahlberg tells him that he must gather coins and that he will take care of the vice principal and the Bureau of Magic. As Mash walks away, Wahlberg thinks to himself that Mash will ultimately run into another issue, but he has faith in Mash to conquer it. Mash wasn't punished, and the other kids thanked him for defeating Farman and Lloyd. Then Tom Knowles approaches Mash and invites him to compete in a duelo competition on behalf of the Adler dorm. Girls congregate around Tom and are thrilled to see him because he was the duelo MVP of the previous year. When Mash asks what duelo is, Tom explains that it's a broom-based game and the most popular sport in the magic realm. Tom won't listen to Mash when he attempts to explain that he can't ride a broom and that the game is tomorrow. Tom keeps telling him to play with them. Mash finds that Tom is much more dim than he is as he is unable to say no. The game between Adler and Lang dorms begins the following day. The spectators observe that Mash isn't flying during the game. Mash tries to explain that he can't ride a broom again, but the audience boos him and hurls items at him since they think he's tinkering and doesn't even want to be there. Mash only remains motionless on the ground because he is unable to fly. Tom approaches him and claims that he made a vow to be number one, but Mash disputes this. Then Tom says he doesn't have any bamboo and says that it's tough and can endure any climate. Then Tom remembers that he never told him the rules of the duelo game. They are squabbling for control of the ball as it flies through the air and is passed through a ring for points. They are prohibited from utilizing magic, and everything is done with a broom. Tom reveals that he put everything on duelo, which is why he recruited Mash, before heading back to his squad. Tom leaps upward, but a rival player collides with him, pretending it was a mistake, causing Tom to tumble to the floor. Tom, who has a broken bone, asks the player where his sportsmanship is, but the player is only concerned with winning. Adler Dorm is much behind Lang Dorm by 40 points. Tom informs Mash that although they give it their all, winning is not crucial. Lang keeps extending their lead to 50 points as they have 6 players compared to 4 guys. Mash grabs his broom out of annoyance. He then leaps into the air and appears to be flying, shocking everyone. But in reality, he is simply moving his legs quickly to maintain his airborne position. People wonder what he will use to do it from so far away as he requests the ball and receives it. Mash then scores with a strong toss. After that, the ball spins and comes back to Mash. He keeps on throwing it, scoring 999 points compared to Lang's 60 points, and Adler triumphs in the match. The group receives a silver coin from Mash. After the game, Tom gives Mash a hug and tells him that he is happy and has grown into a powerful bamboo. Tom arrives the following day to pick up Mash for duo practice. Lemon shows in as well and requests to learn with Mash. Mash, who doesn't want to work with them, approaches Finn for assistance, but he appears to be dozing off. When Lance Crown arrives, he comments that Mash seems to be having fun and asks if he may join. He is the pupil Lemon acknowledges as the top performer on the entrance exam. Lance suggests they do something enjoyable when Mash says he isn't having fun. Lance then pulls out an old bottle and declares it to be a unique magical tool. Tom, Lemon, and Finn are sucked and imprisoned inside the bottle as he opens it. He then teleports away after telling Mash that if he wants them back, he should go to the forest near the owl hut. Mash comes across Lance in the woods. Lance posits that Mash is seeking the coins and demonstrates his possession of 2 silver coins. Tom is astonished because he had assumed that just a small percentage of upperclassmen have them. Tom assumes Lance is terrible news after noticing 2 lines on his face. Most individuals employ single-line magic in the entire world. There are, however, a few uncommon outliers with more lines. 1 in 100,000 people are double-line magic users, and they are thought to have been chosen by magic itself. Mash is informed by Lance that they would wager one another's silver coins in a game. Lance doesn't require a handicap, but he is aware that having Mash's buddies is to his advantage. Lance thought Mash was too soft and put someone else's needs ahead of his own during the exam. Lance feels certain that he can defeat someone of that caliber. Mash consents, and Lance uses Gravile to clear the area after that. Brad and Rigro could hear the noise Lance's magic was making from their location. Lance blocks Mash's punch attempt by using Gravile once more, pinning Mash to the ground and leaving Lance to question if Mash is indeed trying to defeat him without the aid of magic. Mash tries to get up, but Lance informs him he won't be able to as he is struggling to do so. Mash claims he can accomplish enough while seated, though. Lance is then forced to cease using his magic and jump backward while he smashes the ground and pulls out large roots. Mash then makes another effort to punch Lance, who again unleashes Gravile, but this time Mash is able to endure it and continues. Lance avoids it but is quite aback by how much faster Mash has become. Mash tries to punch him once more, but Lance blocks him, and all he succeeds in doing is removing his pendant. Mash checks it out and sees an image of a young girl, so she concludes Lance is a lolicon because of that. Mash returns Lance's pendant after he asks for it back and admits that it isn't any better either. Lance disputes it and claims that he has a sister complex. Mash responds to Lance's query about what matters most in the world. Mash hesitates a moment before attempting to say cream puffs, but Lance cuts him off by saying he is mistaken. Mash goes on to guess human life, love, and freedom, but Lance keeps correcting him and becomes irate that he can't just say the obvious. Mash then asks him the same question, to which Lance replies that his little sister is the most important thing in the world. Mash, however, observes that various people appear to have different priorities. Lance moves to a cliff and gets ready to throw the bottle, noticing that his magic will hasten its descent. Lance will then attack Mash as he makes an effort to preserve it. To save his sister, Lance is prepared to exhibit demonic behavior. Lance recalls how, despite his denials, his sister reprimanded him for picking another battle. She calls him a dishonest liar and orders him to sit down so she can use her powers to heal him. She assumes that's why they beat him because they heard he stopped a kid from being bullied. She adores his kindness, despite the fact that he is clumsy. Anna was diagnosed with an untreatable illness one day, and she now has little more than 5 years to live. If this occurs, according to their parents, they will have to report her to the authorities. Lance vows to train as a divine visionary in order to save his sister and change the corrupt system since he is upset with his parents. Lance uses Gravile after dropping the bottle. Then, as he muses over Mash's next move, he notices that some of his garments have been removed. Mash then employs a spell Lance has never heard of before, hamstring magic. Mash then casts Big Bang Dash, stating that for him, the options of failing to save and losing don't exist. He then dashes back down the hill while carrying the bottle. Lance finds it hard to believe and questions whether he is utilizing physical augmentation magic. Mash goes on to say that since the bottle is phony and empty, Lance doesn't feel like a horrible guy, and that they should stop fighting. Mash then moves swiftly toward Lance and searches him, discovering the genuine bottle. Mash admits that he is too clumsy to make logical conclusions about things when Lance questions why he wants them to stop when he can win silver coins. Lance believes that they should cease after being reminded of his sister's remarks. He departs but acknowledges that they had a bet and hands Mash a silver coin. Mash then frees Tom, Lemon, and Finn, although he later regrets not doing so when he gets back to the academy because they irritate him. Students are divided among the 3 dorms at Easton Magic Academy according to the corresponding qualities. Those with conviction and courage are given the Adler position. Orca is given the qualities of wisdom and openness, and those with talent and ambition are given the Lang position. Mash discovers that 1 gold coin is made out of 5 silver coins. He figures that, since he already has 2 silver coins, he only needs 3 more silver coins to obtain a gold coin. Finn corrects him. Mash then remarks on how calm it is today, but Finn then realizes they haven't turned in their potions homework and becomes anxious. When Lance arrives, he names them slackers and expresses amazement that they haven't finished their work. He continues by saying that they should feel ashamed since they are harming the reputation of the dorm. Mash then unlocks his pendant and shows Lance the image of his sister. Lance is astounded by her brilliant brightness. As he shows them a mandragora and agrees to assist them with their potions project, Lance explains that if they can stop screaming, they can turn into a common ingredient in potions. He then demonstrates how to accomplish so while using Quintus to mute and calm the mandragora. Finn then makes an attempt, but after using Quintus, the mandragora continues to wail. Mash attempts it as well, but the mandragora screams even louder. Lance advises Finn to concentrate his magic on a particular area. Then Finn tries once more and succeeds in soothing and putting it to sleep. Mash's mandragora increased in size in the meantime due to how insane it had gotten. He slaps it and knocks it out as it lunges at Mash, declaring that he has silenced it. The mandragoras are now quiet as Lance explains how they transform into common herbs. Then he demonstrates to them how to chop it up and cook it so that it becomes a compound. Mash claims he understands it, but Finn thinks it to be too difficult. Following Lance's instructions, he creates a cream puff instead. Lance thinks Mash is playing around, so he takes him through each step methodically. Lance is shocked when Mash's compound turns out to be a cream puff again because he watched every move, and is baffled as to how it happened. Mash is informed by Lance that he will no longer be losing to him because of his decision to join the Bureau of Magic. Mash is on par with or superior than Lance in battle, and Lance won't let anyone take Mash's money. Then Lance instructs Mash to try creating the chemical once more. Wahlberg thinks back to the upcoming all-dorm off-campus class and worries for Mash's well-being. Dot runs into 3 classmates, who engage him in combat, but he defeats them all. According to Abel, those who shape and dominate the world are the divine visionaries. When he asks what qualities a monarch ought to have, Abyss responds that they should be a noble pedigree and immense power. Abel affirms, pointing out that this means the Lang students, not the Adler students, and instructs the others to collect all coins from the other dorms. The off-campus lesson begins the following day, and students are led into the wilderness. Dot proclaims himself to be the protagonist and number 1 as the world revolves around him. Mash and the others think he's strange, and when he sees Mash, he recognizes him and attempts to explain that, to him, he just appears like a supporting role. Lemon appears at that precise moment, warning Mash to use caution and asking if she can accompany them. Dot becomes enraged and spits on Mash, declaring that he despises men who pay attention to males. The ratio of women to men is intended to be 1-to-1. But because no woman has ever fallen for Dot, it might be said that individuals like Mash are destroying the system. Dot had made the decision to join the Bureau of Magic and purge the world of attractive men. However, Dot is enraged by Mash and the others' disregard towards him. The instructor arrives and explains that Adler and Lang will both take part in this outdoor activity. They are tasked with eliminating woodland scorpions in exchange for bronze or silver coins. The stones that were on the scorpions' foreheads must be brought back. While few sturdy ones with square stones are worth silver coins, the most are worth bronze coins. A student named Silva Iron from Lang approaches Mash and says that Mash believes he is hot stuff as the teacher instructs them to go. Mash then assaults him, striking him, and turns to face him angrily. Silva explains that they are just playing around when the teacher stops them. Lance urges Mash not to bother Silva, who is notorious for his wrongdoing, as he departs. He reveals that because of his magical skills, he harmed several pupils and teachers, who forced him to repeat the previous year of school but did not expel him. Lance realizes that Mashle's ferocious appearance was caused by his cream puff when Mashle checks it and says he was concerned it got crushed in his pocket. Mashle and Lance enter the woods. Lance suggests that they collaborate but later regrets it because he has already lost Mashle. Dot had been trying to show that he was superior to Mashle, but when he sees Mashle, he is astonished. In the meantime, Mashle rushes into Dot. Mashle then spanks him to stop talking. Dot decides to fight him but is interrupted by the cry of a girl who is being pursued by a different male student. He assists her right away, taking out the guy with an explosive assault. Lauren Cabas, the girl, then compliments him, causing Dot to flush and melt. Dot continued acting bizarrely while attempting to maintain composure and look cool while Lauren is astonished by how strange he is yet keeps admiring him. This only makes Dot more excited. Lauren observes that she can easily use her magic to make others fall in love with her even if they are only mildly attracted to her. However, after seeing Dot, Lauren surmises that she probably didn't even need to use her power. She then starts praising Mashle and tries to make him fall in love with her through magic, but Mashle is unaffected. She makes even more effort to appear charming, but it is ineffective once more. She goes on to say that Silva is stalking and threatening her, but at least she got Dot. Dot resolves to attack Silva after seeing her sob. Then Silva arrives, wondering who will defeat him. Silva claims that Dot is a loser and that whenever he encounters other losers, he wants to expose them to reality and see their reactions. Dot, however, immediately engages Silva with a machine gun explosive assault. Lance had been located by Finn and Lemon, who are now pleading with him not to abandon them. Silva had used magic to defend himself. He continues to make fun of Dot and punches him, knocking him to the ground. He then asks where his energy gone and remarks on the stark disparity between their skill sets. The cream puff that Mashle was enjoying is knocked down by a boulder from Silva's attack. Dot is taken aback by Silva's might and is unsure of what to do to save Lauren. Silva decides to give them a chance and offers a wager of 1 silver coin, and the promise that if they can withstand 5 of his magical blows, he would leave the girl alone. Dot concurs because there have only been 5 hits, but Silva claims Mashle must also take 5 hits. Silva is unconcerned when Dot says that Mashle has nothing to do with this. Then Dot suggested that he also take Mashle's 5 hits. Silva deploys Iron Fist as Dot gets about to be struck. Dot spits blood due to the force of the blow, yet he gets up and continues to take hits from Silva. Dot continues to stand up after 9 blows. He says he is an idiot and can't ignore a girl's emotions after remembering Lauren's cries. Silva is pleased that he survived 9 blows and gets ready to deliver a stronger 10th blow. To his surprise, Dot continues to stand up after it. He tries to approach Silva and tell him to follow his word, but he falls. Dot requests that Mashle take Lauren and flee. After laughing and calling him an idiot, Silva strikes him once more. Lauren joins Silva in his criticism of Dot and declares that she despises stuffy men like him. Mashle throws a cream puff and covers Silva's lips as they continue to giggle. It's Mashle's turn to accept the 10-hit challenge, according to Mashle, who claims they have gone far enough and calls Silva a scumbag. After taking down a scorpion, Lance wonders if Mashle will be okay. Finn and Lemon are certain of it, but Lance argues that there are several forms of magic and that Mashle has thus far faced white mages, who are renowned researchers and supporters of magic. Red mages are excellent fighters, though, and those who have advanced through their first year are incredibly tough, with some of them becoming double-liners. Silva said he despises hypocrites who appear tough but are actually weak and wishes he could harm them. Due to Dot having earlier damaged his clothes, he takes him up and is about to bash him to the ground. However, as Mashle comes in to attack him, Silva releases Dot and creates an iron wall to block him. Silva inquires as to Mashle's belief that he can defeat him and reveals that in his first year, he earned 2 gold coins. He continues and uses his Iron Fist magic to assault Mashle. Mashle stops using magic after receiving numerous blows and gets ready to use Triceps magic Ballista Knuckle. Silva declares that he has never heard of such sorcery before attacking Mashle, but Mashle avoids or destroys his iron pillars to get to Silva and punch him. Silva becomes enraged by this and strikes Mashle once more, but Mashle defeats his iron magic attack by punching him in the gut. When Silva realizes he is unable to stand or win, he collapses to his knees and declares he is unable to endure any more blows. Mashle then withdraws and sits, saying that Silva had already taken 2 of the 10 hits he would have to take. Mashle gets to his feet and walks over to Silva, asking whether he's prepared to accept the 3rd blow. Silva fears that if he takes another blow, he would pass away and begins to consider his options. Then, a scorpion materializes. According to Silva, it contains a star-shaped stone that makes it more valuable than a silver coin. Then, as Mashle battles the scorpion, he hopes to be able to flee. Mash is attacked by the scorpion, but he simply blows him away and excuses himself by saying he is busy. Silva darkens. Mash suggests ending this as he begins to feel sorry for Silva. Mash then turns to face Lauren, who wasn't anticipating Silva's defeat. She begins to cry as she struggles with what to do and claims Silva coerced her into doing it. Mash then gives her a hug from behind and assures her that everything is fine, giving the impression that her charms were effective. Mash, on the other hand, does a suplex, knocking her to the ground while pointing out that he treats everyone equally. Mash later meets up with Lance and the others, who are impressed that he not only defeated Silva but also a scorpion with the appearance of a star that is worth 2 silver coins. Lemon asks Dot, who is badly injured, if he is okay, which makes him very happy. Dot praises Mash and expresses regret for involving him. Mash says that's not how Dot usually acts, which infuriates Dot because he felt awkward expressing those comments. Mash was Lang's aim, according to Lance. The reason Silva assaulted him was because he had heard that they were looking for coins. The members of the top class and their friends reside in Lang dorm. They are moralists who place a premium on birthright and will stop at nothing to keep nobody like all their dorm members out of the Bureau of Magic. Lance surmises that the Lang dorm elites, Magia Lupus, and they are about to engage in a battle over resources. Mash had accumulated 5 silver coins, therefore they were transformed into a gold coin. Finn explains to Mash that they were sorted when they arrived at the school, and that he didn't know there were dorms. Mash then thinks back to the time they had to touch a skeleton unicorn in order for it to read their minds and place them in a hostel. The unicorn is pretty sure of his abilities after having a few students given to him because, even after hundreds of years, he never made a mistake in judging anyone because he can read their minds. The unicorn is astonished when Mash turns and only considers cream puffs. He muses over what to do and formulates a protracted argument that links him to Adler. Then Lance explains to Mash and the others that Silva must have been one of the 7 members of Magia Lupus. Lance advises Mash to avoid Lang and stick with his roommate since he has a gold coin. Mash goes to class the next day. He approaches a door and considers if he had to push or pull it open while he scans the area for his class. Silva is currently expressing his regret to Abel. According to Worth, Abel gave him a chance since he wanted to join them but allowed Adler to steal a coin. Silva requests a second opportunity, but Abel responds that Worth misspoke. It sounds like he expected something from him to give him a chance. According to Abel, those who will rule the world must be carefully selected people with a noble ancestry, a faultless education, and exceptional talent. Silva can't even serve as a sacrifice pawn for their goal of purging the world of pollutants, and his life is meaningless. But he shouldn't worry about it any longer. Instead, he should focus on collecting coins. Silva is then made into a doll by Abel. Mash then enters while still holding the door, saying he wasn't sure whether to push or pull. He wonders if Abel realizes he is speaking to a doll after seeing Abel. And that's where this video ends. If you want to see more of this series, let me know in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.